Dawn of Sorrows has all the usual hallmarks of a great Castlevania game, with the castle exploration, the discovery, the bosses, and of course the incredible soundtrack. But this version has some key differences from most Castlevania games as well. Most notably, of course, it carries over the soul mechanic from Aria of Sorrow, where you can collect souls that give you unique powers. But those unique powers aren't the only thing you can use those souls for, as they are also the means by which you can upgrade your weapons. And while you'll have some to spare, sometimes farming the souls can be somewhat arduous, since they're randomly dropped from enemies, meaning sometimes you may even die, reload from a save, and be unable to get a soul that you had previously gotten, which can be incredibly annoying. Indeed, it's because of that randomness that the Souls system is simultaneously a very interesting part of this game that helps it stand out amongst the sea of other Castlevania games and Metroidvanias in general, but also is maybe the worst part of this game, as you spend a wild amount of time attempting to just farm souls, going into and out of rooms over and over and over again. Of course, very few of these souls are required, and you'll eventually find that some are far more overpowered than others, but the farming can still be very frustrating even if you're not doing a ton of it. Making a great Castlevania game isn't about just adding your own flair to the existing formula, though. It's also about executing on the old standbys in an exciting and interesting way, and Dawn of Sorrows mostly holds up pretty well in this regard. The core combat works real well with different classes of weapon, which all have their own unique feel, and while the souls do add some amount of uniqueness to the proceedings, they're also highly similar to other games' items or powers, just with a different form of acquisition. An unfortunate way the game doesn't hold up quite as well against other titles in the series is in the boss fights. These feel quite tedious and workmanlike in a way that was really disappointing. Especially as you get further in the game, more and more bosses just kind of become about doling out damage to them, without having to pay much heed at all to any mechanics. Personally, when I get to a Metroidvania's boss fights, I want to have interesting and unique mechanics that make me move or use my powers in a way that I haven't up until that point in the game. And in that way, Dawn of Sorrows fails to meet what I feel is a pretty basic expectation of the genre. It does, however, nail both the exploration and the evolution of navigation, which are themselves hugely important parts of the formula. The abilities you unlock over time that allow you into new parts of the castle are neat, even if they usually aren't too mechanically interesting. Though I'll admit there are a few things that are pretty cool, like the Puppet Master ability that lets you throw a puppet through small gaps and then swap places with it, and those are the rare exception. The places that you need to come back to in order to make use of these are thankfully more than memorable enough to keep you from needing any navigation aids like map markers or anything of that sort that you'll almost always find in newer Metroidvanias. The elements of this game that are actually brand new make use of the touchscreen that the DS had brought to the table, and unfortunately the touchscreen element of the game comes across as incredibly gimmicky. It is implemented in two ways that are both introduced in the game pretty early. In one, you seal away bosses at the end of boss fights by memorizing and drawing a symbol on the screen. Doing this is 100% required in order to finish off bosses, and it usually means a scramble for the stylus unless you want to keep it in your hand the entire time you're fighting the boss, which I tried but found pretty awkward. The second way the touchscreen is used is even more gimmicky. Sometimes, in incredibly rare cases, some ice will appear on the screen, and you have to swipe it away on the touchscreen. This is thankfully used incredibly sparingly, and there are only a few rooms in the whole game that use it at all. It feels like they thought they needed something else to do with the touchscreen and just kind of threw this in there to make sure it felt like something that actually took advantage of the capabilities of the DS, which was a very common thing for games to be doing around this point. As one might expect, neither of these new mechanics make this game worth playing on original hardware. I did play a few hours on original hardware, and I've mixed in that footage where most appropriate, but if it's easier for you to grab this on modern platforms, and I imagine it will be for the vast majority of people, it is, in my opinion, a better way to play all around, and it's where I played the vast majority of this game exclusively. You get improved resolution, of course, and the ways that the re-release works around the touchscreen controls are, in my opinion, better than having to fumble for your stylus at specific points in the game that ask for it, whether that's finishing off a boss at the end of a fight, or tapping some ice block hanging around in the world. For the boss ceiling mechanic, each of the circles that were previously used for drawing the symbol now have a button assigned to them, so you just have to type the buttons in the right order, which honestly feels pretty great. When it comes to ice clearing, you do have to do a bit of a kludgy workaround that requires you to use the right analog stick on your controller in order to clear out the ice. Though, since it's such a rare mechanic, it's a passable solution, and the other benefits you get for playing on a more modern platform make it well worth it. The modern port, called the Dominus Collection, and including all of the Castlevania titles that came out for the DS, also handles the multiple screens about as elegantly as one could expect, by just showing you all three of the potential screens at once, with the screen containing the game's main action being the most prominent, and your map summary screens being displayed on top of each other to the right. This view is customizable, but I honestly found the default to work the best for me. I think as part of that collection, Dawn of Sorrows is well worth taking a look at. To be certain, this isn't the best Castlevania game I've played, but it's far from the worst. And even in today's very crowded Metroidvania genre, it still has more than enough going for it to still be worth playing all these years later.